Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Be It Till You See It interview recap, where my co-host in life, Brad, and I are going to dig into the multifaceted convo I had with Jessica Vaughn in our last episode. If you haven't yet listened to that interview, feel free to pause this now or go back and then come back, or go back and join us. Come in, listen to the order however you want. This is a really fun interview because she's a friend and we met a summer ago.
But was it only one?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Feels like we've known her for a long time.
I know. It's because we ran and we've got to hang out with her again. Probably more often than some of our own
That's true.
friends who've known longer.
I love the circuit.
And also, we got to be on the journey of her whole condo and all this stuff. So we definitely have had a nice journey with her. But yes, I think it was only one summer ago.
That's crazy.
I know, super crazy. So what's fun about that interview, we'll talk about in a bit, is we got to get into a lot of different topics about a life of hers. And I really enjoy that. I think you can glean a lot from listening to someone else's story. But before we get into Jess Vaughn's interview, first, we are so close to kicking off our OPC members only challenge. This is the first time we're doing a members only challenge. We've done the challenges before. Many of you are like, where's the 100th me? Well, guess what? It's with the members. That's where we're doing it. Think 80s members only jackets. That's what I'm talking about. So if you are like, oh, I missed an OPC challenge, well, then come to OPC. And the OPC app is basically, it's happening. People are using it. Surprise!
If you didn't know, OPC is getting an app.
Yes.
We're really fired up about it. It's actually going to include a bunch of free content in there, as well as access to paid memberships, of course. But it's going to be a really great resource. It's kind of going to be a one-stop shop. And guess what?
What?
You'll be able to listen to the podcast
on the OPC app?
On the OPC app.
That's so fun.
Yeah. So when you are listening to the pod, instead of wherever it is you're listening now, you can actually go into the app, which will be all things OPC and LL and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's
kind of
so
all rolled
fun.
up into one spot, and you can listen to the pod right in there.
That's so cool. I love that. What a surprise for me too. So check it out at the OPC app. Do we have a link?
Well, no, it's not out yet. It will be out in about 2 weeks. So this is an announcement. It's coming. We're really excited.
It's about to publicly launch. I missed the about.
If you are an OPC member already, we will be emailing you, of course. If you're not an OPC member, that's totally fine.
You can get the app. There's free content on there. But you can still
get the app because there's free content.
You can listen to the pod.
You can listen to the pod. Just go to opc.me/app, and we'll put you on a little wait list, and we'll let you know when we're also emailing all of the members to let them know to go download it.
Yeah. So I'm excited about this. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we get to make changes along the way. And you know what? We get to have just like a website, it's ever going to be growing and changing and improving. But
of course.
We've wanted an app for a really long time. Finally, Elevate 3 is about to kick off in 1 month. And at the time that this comes out, there may still be some spots left. So you will want to go to lesleylogan.co/elevate. If you're wondering, what the hell is Elevate? It's not an elevator, although I do call the people in the Elevate group elevators. I love it. Elevate is a mentorship for Pilates instructors. You have to have done a somewhat comprehensive Pilates training. So at least the mat, reformer, Cadillac tower, one to chair, and the rest of it, I'm okay if your training didn't have that in there. We'll deal with deep dive with that together. But we only let 12 people in. The first 2 rounds have sold out. The third round, as we speak, as we're recording this, there's a couple spots left, but by the time this comes out, it could be full. Round 4 won't start till 2024 because that works that way. Round 4, 2024. I like the way that number works. So, and again, we only take 12 people every round. So you're definitely going to want to get in on a round that you can get a spot on. So lesleylogan.co/elevate if you are ready to connect more to your practice, to your teaching, to the connection to this method and have some confidence while doing it. It's for you.
It's totally for you. Yeah. All right. So this week we had a different type of audience question. Normally it's about like your practice or, just fun things about life or whatever. But this one was like totally a business question for people teaching corporate MAC classes. So if you're a teacher and you wanted to get into, what if you could get paid to go into a local company and teach
My friends
there.
used to teach at Sony every single week, and some of them taught at Paramount. Like, it was a whole thing. And I think they even like taught enough fitness classes there that they got insurance. And I was approached to teach at Google. And I was like, oh yeah, let me know when the Westwood one opens up, and then COVID and we moved. But
good times.
So whether or not you're a applies teacher or not, the answer to this question, if you are in the service industry or you work for yourself, this answer is going to apply. And first of all, I don't know where you live. I don't know what you do. I don't know how many people. There's not enough information. And also, for me to give specific coaching on, you'd have to be an agency member. However, the answer we give to every single person asking us, how much do I charge for blank? It doesn't really matter what the blank is. You need to use our magic calculator tool. This is a free tool. You can go to profitapplies.com and you can go to the free resources, and at the top, you'll see magic calculator.
Yep.
And if you work for yourself, you'll pick that solo one and you will fill in the blanks. There'll be some questions you have to ask. Specifically, like how much money you want to make in a year, gross. That means like in considering all your expenses, all your taxes, your profits, all that stuff in one lump sum. And then it's going to ask you a series of other questions. You'll fill that out. It's going to spit out a number. Then if you got my book, where I'm sure you can find that on profitapplies.com, or you can get a paperback on Amazon.
It's also in the resources
You're
section.
going to see there's a whole chapter that I have on charging for things like traveling to teach, because it is not just what your hourly rate is, this magic number is, it's going to have to include travel.
Yeah. But basically, we can set you up to figure out what is the rate you should be charging with these tools that are already available to you right now. The Magic Number Calculator is totally free. We encourage you to go to the site right now and just log in and use it. And it will help you clarify what you should be charging, not only for the corporate thing, but your other rates for your other products as well. So whether you're teaching private sessions or duets or whatever it may be, this will really help you. And then we offer coaching after the fact. If you're not quite sure what you need to be doing with it, then you can join us in agency, and we're happy to really dig deep into your magic number with you. In fact, it's literally my favorite thing to do. I love this coaching call because I find it so revealing. And the thing that lights my fire is when people go, wait, how much am I already making today? I didn't even realize that. And all I need to do are these steps and I can be making this other number, right? And it's really fun for me to like break it all down in a numerical way where you can logically look at things and go, holy shit, I'm actually amazing. I love that. So anyway, that's why you should go just use the free magic number calculator on the Profit Pilates site. It'll help you dial all that stuff in. So amazing. Great question. All right, now let's talk about Jessica Vaughn, a woman who wears many hats. Jessica Vaughn is an actor, singer, podcast host, and entrepreneur who also maintains a full-time job working with civic engagement to build a more equitable and anti-racist world. Jess is a ball of energy, and she's passionate about sharing her journey through creative spaces, social justice, and leading self-discovery.
Yeah, I mean, like really multifaceted is the best word for it. And it's also really cool to see how someone can take different skill sets they have and bring them along to other things that they're doing. And also, I think there's an interesting balance that we'll talk about as we go through this. So we're changing up a little bit this week. So we'll have a little bit more of an outline of what last episode was and a few talking points. So if you remember, Jess shared about how she went from Queen of the Chicago Hill to being totally burnt out, to stepping back and then finally recalibrating so she can get back to being the badass she knows she is. And she is such a badass. She is just like amazing. So we talked about three things. One, identifying the problem. So specifically like signs of mental health decline, which by the way, so many studies are coming out that like specifically teenage girls are like at the lowest mental health, like like mental happiness levels ever.
The effects of the pandemic. I mean, there's so many things
just
coming out.
all the things, which was one of the reasons why OPC is now sponsoring a charity that helps with anti-bullying. But also like and then you go in general and you just look at the rest of the age groups. You're like, oh, we're all definitely doing terribly bad when it comes to our mental health. So I think it couldn't be more important for us to understand how to identify the problem. Number 2, recalibrating, AKA taking a step back. And then number 3, the work you do to get good with yourself again, and whatever that means to you. And I think too often we spend so much time trying to get good with other people and not with ourselves. Yeah. So anyways, Brad, why don't you dig into like some of the stuff and then we can go back to those 3 points.
Yeah. So those 3 big outline points here, but a quick recap on her story, right? So Jess has been holding this full-time job for a long time. She's lived in Chicago for 20 years. She was also doing consulting on the side, helping companies with like business development and also like leadership development, team organizational structure development, some HR stuff. And then when 2020 happened and there was a demand, suddenly this massive demand for DEI consulting, she got very involved in that world to the point where she felt like it was taking over her life. In fact, she felt like she was being pulled along instead of leading the way that she normally was, and she was losing herself in that, and it was causing a lot of stress and depression and internal turmoil. And so I don't know if she was able to like place a finger on it and identify the problem, but she did identify the problem. And then she did actually take a step back, and then she worked on herself again. And those things were pretty amazing. And that's why we kind of wanted to run through each of those points instead of just pulling out 2 smaller topics to talk about. I thought this was an amazing, this is a multi-year journey that she went on here.
Yeah. And first of all, it's like something I wish every guest would like do. Sometimes I'm like, so tell me about this. And they're like, here are 3 bullet points of all the things. And I'm like, I think there was more in there. And they're like, oh, it was great. And it's like, okay. But so I've really loved her vulnerability here. But she talked about she started to notice like negative self-talk. And you guys, I bet there's a time you can remember you didn't talk negatively to yourself. I bet it doesn't have to be like the longest years of time, but I bet you there's been moments in your life where you weren't doing that. And if you start to notice that it's like anteing up and it's becoming more of a thing, that is a sign that you're not a happy camper in where you're at.
Especially too with her, the negative self-talk was around things that she formerly was like super passionate about. Like she went on an audition and she just shredded herself after the audition was over. And in fact, she said while she was on stage dancing and singing, she was like seeing herself from a third party perspective saying, you're fucking it all up. What are you doing? This is the worst. I can't believe you're doing this. And she's like, whoa. Like clearly I'm not getting this audition, but what the heck? This is not how I am.
This actually brings me back to Dr. Bender's most recent episode where she talked about like reasoning. Like we try to reason, and what I think I like about Jess like noticing the signs and then taking that step back to recalibrate. It would have been easy for her to go, oh, auditioning makes me have negative self-talk, but it wasn't the actual, she came into the audition to do something she loved and then she started having negative self-talk. So could it have been the audition, or could it have been everything surrounding what she was going through at that same time? So I think it's really important that to also just say that identifying the problem doesn't mean that where the acute, it's kind of like your body, right? Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. If you have pain in the front of your shoulder, the problem is not in the front of your shoulder. The problem is in the back of your shoulder. So too often I think we are so quick to like identify what the problem is by like, she could have so easily been like, oh, auditions make me talk negatively to myself, I'm no longer auditioning. But instead she like took that bigger stuff back and she started to notice the signs and figure out where these were. And then that allowed her to like really start to take a look at things and figure out, and it's an experiment. You're going to be like, oh, do I need to do a little bit more over here? Maybe do a little bit more over here. And you have to be kind to yourself in that journey and that recalibration.
Yeah, I mean, she also said she couldn't follow up or show up with tasks, which normally she's like, she knows I'm a leader, I execute, and I get shit done. And she said she was really struggling to do that. She said she felt like she was at the point of exhaustion all the time. She also said somehow in the mix of it all, she was just saying yes to everything. And she's like, I literally should have been saying no to some of the stuff, but I was saying yes because it was also, like she didn't actually say this, but I know like when you're in demand, it also strokes your ego. It feels good when everyone's like, I need you to help me. I need you to help me. I need you. And you're like, sure, pay me. Here's my rates. And they're saying,
and
yes,
also
yes, yes.
you start to worry, especially when you work for yourself, you start to worry that if you say no, that
maybe it'll stop coming.
And like,
especially in the acting world, that's exactly how they talk. Everybody talks
Jennifer
like that.
Lawrence, how many years did she freaking film before she's like, I'm not filming for 2 years. I'm actually going to go marry someone and I'm going to like have a child and I'm going to do these things. And she'll completely stop.
Yeah.
She'll like disappear. And like that's you don't want to get to the point where you have to like literally stop everything, so to get a recalibration.
Yeah. And I thought something was really amazing was she actually was able to, I don't know if in the moment again, but looking back on it, she said she was being pulled by the momentum of the path instead of leading as she normally does, and she felt lost in that, and that actually led to depression.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it just well, of course you're going to be depressed if you start to lose yourself.
Well, she also probably didn't feel in control, but for me, this is really personal because I had I was married before, right? And my ex kept saying to me, you need to slow down. You need to slow down. You need to slow down. You move so fast. And, I know myself. I do move fast. I try to pack too many things in one day, all these things.
All the time.
So I embraced this idea as like my, like a life embrace. And over a year, I really started to slow things down. And I began to watch TV more, and I began to come home and make dinner more and all this kind of stuff. And I did that for like a number of years. And then when our relationship ended, I didn't remember who I was. All I knew was I hated myself. I hated who I'd become. I did not feel like Brad. I didn't feel confident. I wasn't doing music. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't going out. I wasn't meeting people. I was not myself anymore. Mm-hmm. And it was really dark. And I didn't even realize that I had gotten to that point, and it was like way past a healthy balance of slowing down.
I think that's actually fairly normal. Like y'all, if you listen to this and you're like, oh, this, I like really resonate with this. It's like a frog in the boiling water. You don't put the frog in the boiling water. You just slowly turn the heat up. And so that's what it's happening. And often it's like you're boiling by the time you're like, fuck, who the am I? So if that is you or that's been you, please don't judge yourself. Like sometimes it takes getting to that point to just really go, whoa, like the universe was tapping on you. It was like going, hello, stop, don't say yes to that. And like trying to get your attention. And sometimes we get in the way, our ego, you said it gets in the way. The people pleaser in us can get in the way. All these different things can be happening. And so if you end up on the other side where you're like, I don't know who I am anymore, you're not alone. Yeah. You can find it back. And also you're going to find the better, if you actually take the time to identify the problem like she had, and then recalibrate and then do the work to get back with yourself, you will actually come back better than ever. This year is the 10th year where I like blew my life up. And I'm going to tell you right now, thank fucking God I did that. Thank goodness I got to that rock bottom, because I don't know if I had only gotten like one level down, if I would have had done the work that I had to do, the climb out to get to a different view of the life I wanted to live. And so truly, like, don't be too hard on yourself if that happened to you, because you can actually become the best version of yourself on the way out. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the next big step, which she did, which was stepping back. Right. Mm-hmm. So recalibrating. When she really identified, that she was in a bad space, she did something that I thought, listening to her story, was pretty dramatic, like pretty drastic, but absolutely the right thing to do. She started saying no. She paused a lot of things. Even some of the things that normally would have fueled her before, she stopped doing, such as reaching out to all of her friends and organizing events and going out to dinners and bars and stuff. She just said, you know what? I need to not do that. Like that, like there needs to be, and she set these boundaries into place. And she said she stopped seeking clients. She stopped pouring into her personal relationships. She was rethinking even the products that she began to offer as a consultant, right? And then really she dialed everything back to where she could focus on two things. Number one was her actual full-time job, where obviously she's getting paid. And number two was working on herself. And I think, that is really amazing to be able to, I mean, that's so hard, right? You like, what do you like? Hey, why don't you go out for dinner on Friday night? No. Oh, okay. Like those kinds of things. Or, hey, we're all going to go for a hike, if somebody else is inviting you, or if you are the leader, which she's a leader, you basically stop being the point person to coordinate the group. That can be, that could be a lot of fear, right? That's your identity almost, like this is who I am. This is what I do. This is how I operate. And then she dramatically changed those things because she needed to.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's okay. Got to do what you need to do.
Yeah. And I thought there was something really interesting in that I did want to talk about before we go on to point 3, which was she had these presuppositions of where she was supposed to be, how she was supposed to be living, all this stuff. And she had to let go of those things. And this is also like, this is a massive thing to identify, right? In her teens, and early 20s self, she was like, of course I'm going to be married and I'm going to have kids, and she's like 35. Who the hell knows what, like 35, I'm going to be old and dying, right? And today she's older than 35 and she said, I'm not married with kids and I don't have a house in the suburbs. All these things that I expected out of life, or I thought was just how it was going to go, that didn't happen. And so, like, how do you live with that? Do you beat yourself up over that? Do you feel like you're behind? Do you feel like you're failing? Or can you actually let go of that story that we've been telling ourselves that like, this is what life is quote unquote supposed to be? Like who defines that? Like, is that really something we've taken with us from childhood all the way to today?
I mean, I think that really lends itself to the next point, which is like under the, like, do the work to go with yourself. It's like, she said, figure out your relation to things that you love or loved. You have to do the, runaway bride thing. Try all the fucking eggs. Do you really still like them scrambled? Do you like them over easy? Do you like them poached? And then figure out your relation to your passion or your job. And then ask yourself, are you mentally and physically ready to embrace your passions again? Because it is a muscle. Like if you used to be really passionate about movement and then you just stop moving, you have to be kind to yourself. You can't just like go back and do the runs you used to do. You're going to be so sore the next day and then you're going to feel bad about yourself. So, something like, and that's a very literal one, but like can also be like an analogy, like go in it and really test and ask yourself, like, how is this working out for me? And the more we can actually get to know ourselves, the easier it is for us to like truly, be able to know when we say yes to something, it's a true yes, and a no that it's like, yeah, that's a no, and have confidence in that. And then also like, just to sum this whole point up, it's like, be yourself. And that to be yourself is going to take time to know yourself.
Yeah. I think that, well, you just said the thing, to be yourself, you have to know yourself. And, the time that she gave herself by setting boundaries, by saying no, by focusing on only her work and herself, it allowed her to get to know herself so that she could actually revisit even the story she told herself of, I'm a creative. Is she still a creative? Did she still want to be a creative after that experience? Well, her answer, she came back to yes, that is what feeds her. But maybe the answer is no.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's okay too,
All right, let's talk about those Be It action items. What bold, executable, intrinsic, or targeted action items can we take away from your convo with Jessica Vaughn? Why don't you jump in here, because I am so good at her Be It action items that it wouldn't make sense for me to talk about them.
Yeah, no. So her Be It, rest. Oh my gosh, rest, everyone. You know, we're going to have an episode coming up with the brain prophets, and rest, Brad, is not going away. In fact, last night at the time I recorded this, I was looking at it like, I don't want you to have dementia. You have to sleep more. So sometimes I get a little dramatic, guys. Listen to your body. This goes very much back with the point number 3. Like, to be yourself, you have to know yourself, which means you have to listen to your body. Listen to it. And there's actually things that your body is going to do. There's going to be physical reactions they're going to have. There's actually in holistic medicine, you can, if you hold, at least my friend Corinne, if she holds something that her body wants, her body will lean forward. If she holds something her body doesn't want, her body will lean back. So getting really good at listening to your body. And then she finally said, at the end of the day, we are vessels. We are vessels, and they need to be filled. And some of the strongest things that we need to do is fill it with rest.
Yeah.
So I thought that was most people are like, here's all these things you can go do to be it till you see it. And she's like, you gotta sleep.
Yeah, sleep and, eat, sleep, listen to your body, all those kinds of things. Not my forte, that's for sure.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're being it till we see it.
That's
it is your forte, Brad.
It's my forte. I'm so great at resting.
I'm so good at rest. I love rest.
The irony. That's so funny.
Well, Jess, thank you so much for being a guest of ours. I'm Lesley Logan.
And I'm Brad Crowell.
We are just so freaking grateful for you. I hope you're enjoying these episodes. And by the way, did you notice we added some things at the very end?
We did. If
If you've ever wanted to be a fly on the wall of this room, we are letting that option happen for you. And you don't even have to turn into a fly to hear what's going on in here.
Just stick around to the end.
Just stick around to the end, and you're going to hear some fun outtakes, and also just truly, really, I am so imperfect, and I hope you enjoy that. And it gives you permission. How are we going to use these tips in your life? We want to know. Tag the Be It Pod. For this episode, you tag Jess Vaughn. She also is so fun to watch on her reels. I really enjoy them. And send this to a friend. Ask us a question to the Be It Pod if you want us to answer it here on the next recap. And until next time, be it till you see it.
Bye for now.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day.
Be It Till You See It is a production of As the Crows Fly Media.
It's written, produced, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell. Our associate producer is Amanda Fraterelli.
Kevin Perez at Diseño handles all of our audio editing.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to our designer Jaira Mandal for creating all of our visuals, which you can't see because this is a podcast, and our digital producer Jay Perdoso for editing all the video each week so you can.
And to Angelina Herrico for transcribing each of our episodes so you can find them on our website. And finally, to Meredith Crowell for keeping us all on point and on time.